Join us in this episode as we continue exploring the Lofoten Islands, anchoring in some lovely new places and getting close to the wildlife. And diving into the cold Arctic waters. I'm Jasmine, and these are my parents, Guy and Joe. And this is our home, Free Spirit. Come join us on our adventures. We set off from Ballstadt harbour and headed out. Our destination was just a short hop away, and the wind conditions were continuously changing, so we didn't raise the sails and motored across, something that had become common for us when exploring these islands. After a short journey, we made it to a beautiful new anchorage. Eagles soared above us. We would spend a few days here just exploring. We hiked up the nearest hill to get an impression of our surroundings. Further on, we found a freshwater lake and decided to take a very refreshing dip. In a little grove, we saw trees with the bark stripped off them in places, lightly eaten or scratched off by moose or elk in the winter. The height of the marks gave an impression of just how big these animals must be. On a rock was a tiny house, possibly put out for the Nisse, a kind of gnome or elf of Scandinavian folklore. It was hard to imagine that in just a few months this place would be covered in snow and ice. We set off into the hills. We upped anchor and headed out again. We spotted the dark fins of orca as they broke the surface. A mother and young calf swam by. And soon we watched in awe as the whole pod swam around us, totally undisturbed by our presence. Eventually the orca left and we headed into Nusfjord. We anchored in a bay nearby. And set off in our kayaks to explore the old fishing village. The rocks and ledges were alive with nesting kittiwakes. We headed into the village on foot. The kittiwakes were even nesting on the roofs and window ledges of the traditional houses, and their cries filled the air. Nusfjord is one of Norway's oldest and best preserved fishing villages, and has many beautiful traditional fishermen's cabins on stilts. People have been fishing here since the mid-1800s, when fishermen came to Nusfjord from all corners of Norway to participate in the thriving cod fishing season, and the town used to be full of fish drying racks, where huge cod would hang. Once over 1,000 people lived here, but now the few people that are resident are largely involved in tourism. Many of the buildings are now tourist lodgings, cafes, art galleries and museums. The Val Museum shows the history of whaling in Norway. Whaling has been conducted off the coast of Europe for thousands of years, from subsistence hunting from small boats to the use of explosive harpoons pioneered in this region of Norway. Commercial whaling since the early 1800s pushed some whale species to the brink of extinction. All commercial whaling was banned in 1987, and since then many species have bounced back. Norway restarted the minke whale hunt in 1993, on the grounds that the hunt is sustainable, and the whalers are given strict quotas and equipment to use. More than 100,000 minke whales live in the northeast Atlantic today. Though the hunt is deemed to be sustainable, it continues to be a very contentious issue. We spent another day in Nusfjord hiking in the surrounding area and soaking up the sunshine. The next day we departed, heading back towards Ballstadt. Birds flocked at the surface of the water over a bait ball of fish. It wasn't long before the eagles were drawn to the commotion. White-tailed eagles are the largest birds of prey in northern Europe. Once in decline due to hunting and pesticides, they were protected in Norway in 1968, and since then their population has increased and spread. And Norway is now home to a quarter of the world's population. It was lovely to watch them hunting for fish. We headed into Ballstadt harbour again. Without a washing machine nearby, we decided to make one for ourselves, putting our clothes into a small barrel drum with water, eco-friendly soap, and some floats, and rolling it along the pontoon. Meanwhile, I headed off on an adventure. I set off to go scuba diving with Lofoten Diving. This was my first time scuba diving in almost 4 years, and this time in Arctic waters. So I was a little nervous. As soon as we were under the water, all the worries faded away. There was so much amazing life to see. As we made our way deeper, the light began to fade and the water became colder. From the gloom, the shape of a wreck appeared, already encrusted with life. Further along the bottom, we found beautiful sun stars. Eventually we came to the anchor from the wreck. Slowly we headed back up towards the surface, meeting more interesting creatures on the way. Stocked up with new supplies, we set off once again. As usual, the winds played with us, going from nothing to almost 20 knots as we neared our destination. As the wind whistled through our anchorage, we found some beautiful calm spots behind the islands in the kayaks. Please like and subscribe. A huge thank you to all my wonderful patrons for helping to support the production of these videos. Your contribution really makes a difference. Thanks for watching. Join us next time as we continue sailing in the Lofoten Islands, anchoring in and exploring some truly idyllic places.
We're gonna get us through. Okay, I'll stop filming.